Alright, so let me tell you about this dude, Light Yagami. At first, he's your classic overachiever. Straight A student, top of his class, and probably the guy who reminds the teacher about homework. Total nerd vibes, right? But then one day, he finds this sketchy notebook just lying around called the Death Note. Turns out, you can write someone's name in it, and boom, they're done. Naturally, Light's like, well, this is gonna be fun. At first, he's all, I'm gonna save the world from bad guys and be a hero. Sounds noble, right? Except, plot twist, power goes straight to his head. In no time, my guy's calling himself Kira like he's some kind of god deciding who lives and who dies. And let me tell you, it's not just criminals he's after. If you even looked at him funny, Light's like, might be time for a little Death Note action. The craziest part, he's so freaking smart, he actually pulls it off for a while, like he's out there playing 4D chess, while the rest of us are struggling with regular checkers. But let's be real, Light's a control freak with a god complex. He manipulates everyone, lies to his friends, and even sacrifices people who trusted him. All for his so-called perfect world. So yeah, Light starts out as this kid with a big brain and even bigger dreams, but by the end, he's just a dangerous megalomaniac with a notebook. Honestly, if this story teaches us anything, it's this. Don't trust a dude who's too good at school. Let's keep going, and our next villain is Cersei Lannister from Game of Thrones. This woman is the definition of don't mess with me. She's got brains, beauty, and an absolute killer instinct, both figuratively and literally. At first glance, you might think she's just another royal lady who's obsessed with power, but trust me, she's way more than that. Cersei is a master of political manipulation, using everyone around her as pawns in her game for the Iron Throne. What makes her so smart is her ability to play the long game. She doesn't just storm into situations and expect to win. Nah, she plans everything out, scheming in the shadows, while making you think she's clueless. She's always 3 steps ahead, and when you think you've got her figured out, boom! She pulls a move that leaves you wondering how you missed it. One of her most impressive skills? Turning people into enemies with just a few well-placed words. She doesn't need to be physically violent, although she definitely can be. She can destroy your life with a glance or a whisper. Cersei also knows exactly how to leverage her family's influence. Her brother Jaime, her son Joffrey, and even the other families, she uses them all to her advantage, and she does it with such cold precision. Every decision, no matter how small, is part of her master plan to hold on to power, even if it means throwing people under the bus. Or worse. Her ambition is so great that it blinds her to the consequences of her actions. But honestly, she doesn't care. As long as she gets what she wants, it's worth it. So yeah, Cersei Lannister is one of those villains who is evil because she's smart enough to make people believe she's the victim, while she's quietly destroying everything in her path. She's a queen in more ways than one. And it's terrifying. We're moving on to the next villain, Dr. Hannibal Lecter. A charming monster. Dr. Hannibal Lecter, also known as Hannibal the Cannibal, is one of the smartest, scariest villains out there. He's the kind of guy who could win you over with his charm, terrify you with his precision, and then, well, maybe eat you for dinner. Seriously, he's a former psychiatrist with a brilliant mind, but a very twisted sense of right and wrong. Hannibal first appears in the book Red Dragon, but he's most famous for The Silence of the Lambs. In this story, FBI trainee Clarice Starling asks Hannibal for help catching another serial killer, Buffalo Bill. Hannibal helps her, but not out of kindness. To him, it's all part of a bigger game, a game he's always winning. Why is Hannibal so smart and evil? He's a genius. Hannibal is super smart. He can figure people out just by talking to them. He sees their fears, weaknesses, and secrets, and uses that to control them. He's creative in a terrifying way. Hannibal doesn't just kill people, he makes it artistic. His victims often end up as part of his dinner menu. And yes, he's famous for saying he enjoyed them with fava beans and a nice Chianti. He's polite but deadly. Hannibal is polite, charming, and speaks like a college professor. He doesn't look like a monster, and that's what makes him so dangerous. You don't realize who he really is until it's too late. He has no remorse. Hannibal doesn't kill out of anger or necessity. He kills because he finds it interesting. To him, murder is art, and his victims are part of his masterpiece. Hannibal Lecter is terrifying because he's not just evil, he's smart, sophisticated, and impossible to predict. You can't help but admire his intelligence, even while you're horrified by what he does. Alright, let's talk about Scar from The Lion King. You know, Scar is one of those villains that just oozes evil intelligence, like he's not out there swinging claws or being brute force. Nah, this guy is working smarter, not harder. He's Mufasa's younger brother, which means he's forever stuck in the shadow of the big, strong king. And to make it worse, his nephew Simba's next in line for the throne. That's gotta sting. Scar's whole deal is manipulation. He knows he can't take the throne by fighting Mufasa, because let's face it, Mufasa would wreck him, so he uses his brain instead. He gets into Simba's head, convincing the poor cub that he's responsible for Mufasa's death. I mean, who does that? And let's not forget the hyenas. Scar doesn't even see them as equals, but he's smart enough to use them as pawns in his big plan. He promises them food and a place in the Pride Lands, all while knowing he's just keeping them under his thumb. Scar's rise to power is basically a masterclass in being a manipulative jerk. He stages Mufasa's death, convinces Simba to run away, and then swoops in to take the throne like it's no big deal. But here's the thing about Scar. His intelligence has limits. Once he's king, he's terrible at actually running the Pride Lands. Everything falls apart because while he's great at scheming, he's awful at leadership. So what makes Scar so evil? It's not just the murder and the lies, it's the fact that he enjoys it. He's smug, he's cruel, and he doesn't care who he steps on to get what he wants. That's what makes him such a great villain. He's smart enough to pull off these big evil plans, but his arrogance is ultimately his downfall. And now we turn to a villain who's not just big in stature, but in ambition. Wilson Fisk, the kingpin of crime. Where Hannibal Lecter is all about refined chaos, Fisk dominates through raw power, unrelenting strategy, and an empire built brick by brick. Let's break it down. Wilson Fisk, better known as the Kingpin, is a force to be reckoned with, both in size and strategy, towering over his enemies. His massive frame is matched only by his sharp intellect and ruthless ambition. Fisk's journey into darkness started with a traumatic childhood. Growing up in poverty, he faced relentless bullying for his size. To make matters worse, his father, a small-time crook and abusive parent, pushed him deeper into a world of violence and manipulation. After years of enduring his father's abuse, Fisk eventually killed him in a fit of rage, a defining moment that shaped his future. From that day, he vowed never to be powerless again. Driven by this ambition, Fisk built an empire that runs Gotham's underworld like a finely tuned machine. But Fisk isn't just another thug running the streets. For him, crime is a business, and he runs it like a ruthless CEO, always calculating his next move and ensuring no one steps out of line. Despite his monstrous reputation, Fisk does have a vulnerable side. His wife, Vanessa. She's his only soft spot, and his love for her makes him both human and more dangerous. Threatening her or their life together is the quickest way to unleash his wrath. Fisk's size isn't just for show either. Beneath the tailored suits and refined demeanor lies raw, unrelenting strength. When brains don't solve the problem, brute force does. Fisk is more than capable of taking down anyone who dares to cross him, physically or strategically. Dr. Doom, the monarch of madness. Next, we've got Dr. Victor Von Doom, a villain who's as brilliant as he is terrifying. A master of both science and magic, Doom is the iron-fisted ruler of Latveria and the ultimate embodiment of ambition fueled by ego. Victor's path to darkness began with tragedy. Born into a Romani family, he lost both parents at a young age, his father to violence, and his mother to a demonic pact gone wrong. This trauma fueled his obsession with power, knowledge, and control over his destiny. In college, Doom's genius stood out, but so did his arrogance. Ignoring warnings about a dangerous experiment, he caused a catastrophic failure that scarred his face. Instead of accepting fault, he blamed Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, sparking a lifelong vendetta. From there, Doom built his iconic armor, claimed Latveria, and turned himself into a global threat. Doom's power comes from his unmatched intellect and magical prowess, making him a nearly invincible force. Latveria isn't just a country, it's Doom's personal fortress and the backbone of his power. Under his iron-fisted rule, its people live in fear, but Doom ensures they view him as both their protector and their god. As Latveria's ruler, he uses its people and resources to fuel his grand ambitions. But it's his unshakable ego that truly defines him. He sees himself as humanity's savior, convinced that only his vision of the world is right. Lord Voldemort, the Dark Wizard who feared death. Tom Marvolo Riddle, aka Lord Voldemort, is the Dark Wizard who terrorized the magical world, splitting his soul into Horcruxes to avoid the one thing he feared most: death. Born to a broken family and raised in a cold orphanage, Riddle's brilliance was evident early. Even as a child, he manipulated others and used his magical abilities for control. At Hogwarts, his intelligence shone, mastering advanced spells, charming professors, and uncovering ancient secrets like the Chamber of Secrets. But his obsession with power and immortality drove him to dark magic, murder, and the creation of Horcruxes. Why is Voldemort so evil and smart? Genius strategist, he manipulated people and orchestrated plans with terrifying precision. Fear of death. His quest for immortality led to unspeakable acts, unmatched cruelty. From killing Harry's parents to torturing enemies, his evil knew no limits. And the last one, Frieza, the cold-blooded conqueror feared across the universe. Frieza rules with an iron fist, destroying planets and races without a second thought. He wiped out the Saiyans just to prevent a potential rival. Talk about paranoia. Brilliant yet sadistic, he doesn't just defeat enemies, he enjoys breaking them. His overconfidence cost him against Goku. But no matter how many times he falls, Frieza always finds a way to return. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for part 2. Thanks for watching!